Hello, everyone. This is Christian from Polyglot Podcast. I'm in Rovaniemi, Finland, and today I'm interviewing Irati, who's from Basque Country, Spain. And today we will talk about the Basque language, Basque Country, like the culture and history. Irati is a teacher of Basque language, so she will also tell about learning Basque, the resources, materials, about her course. So, a lot about Basque language today. And first of all, I think Irati can now introduce herself shortly by telling short sentences first in Basque and immediately after that saying it in English. So, yeah, you can start.
Okay. Kaixo, ni Irati naiz. Hello, my name is Irati, or I am Irati. Eh, Hogeita bi urte ditut, I am 32 years old. Euskal Herrian bizi naiz. I live in the Basque Country. Euskal Herrian jaio nintzen. I was born in the Basque Country. Um, Eta irakaslea naiz, and I am a teacher.
Thank you. Now we can introduce you more. So, in which city were you born in Basque Country?
Yes, I was born in Bilbao, in the hospital of Bilbao 32 years ago. And I have been living here for 32, well, no, 31 years. And I hope to live here all my life. This is my hometown. These are my roots, my family, my friends. My heart is here. So these are my plans. I don't want to leave. When
Yeah.
you yeah, when you are born here, it's very hard to leave or uh to want to be in another place.
What makes it so good?
Yeah, well, I think like the living conditions, the weather is may not be the best because it's quite rainy, but it's true that as if we are close to the sea, the temperature is quite mild. The winters are not so cold, the summers are not so hot, and then yeah, like people also are very loving. The language is also amazing. So yeah, I think like living conditions are quite well. The salaries are quite well. And yeah, people that live here live happily and yeah.
Yeah. I will now ask more about Basque Country and then move on to the language. Um, so, Bilbao is the biggest city in Basque Country, right?
Yes, in the past, we used to be, or there used to be 400,000 citizens. Now, due to demographic changes and so on, there are like 355 kind of thousand citizens in the capital city in Bilbao. And then there are around Bilbao, there are other cities that are quite big, like 100,000 inhabitants. And then there's another city in another province that is San Sebastian or Donostia in Basque, and it has less citizens. I think, if I'm not wrong, like 200,000, a little bit more than 200,000. And then the like political capital city of the Basque country is Vitoria in Spanish, Gasteiz in Basque, and it is the capital city that has less, or the city in the Basque country that has less inhabitants. That is, I think it's not 200,000. I think it's a little bit less.
Yeah. So these three are the main cities in Basque Country.
Yes, well, I need to explain this because there are like different regions that are like Basque country. So I prefer to explain this better just in case. There are like two concepts for the Basque country. One that is Euskadi, and Euskadi are three communities: Vizcaya, Gipuzkoa, and Araba. these three communities form one Basque country. But then, historically speaking, if we want to take into account the Basque Country as like a historical region and so on, apart from these three communities, we also have Navarra, and the French Basque Country, that is Lapurdi, Be Nafarroa eta Lapurdi, Be Nafarroa eta Maule. So
yeah.
those three belong to the French Basque Country.
Yeah. So usually when we speak about Basque Country, we don't take into account the French part, or
Yes, in Spanish is easier, or in Basque is easier, because Euskadi would be the three communities, just the three communities, Euskadi, but then Euskal Herria, that the translation is Basque Country, are the 7 communities.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yes. And yeah, the French Basque Country follows the French rules, but Euskadi and Navarra follow the Spanish rules, like generally speaking. And Navarra is even though Navarra is also part of Spain and they are next to us, historically speaking, they were like separated kingdoms, so that's why there are differences.
Yeah. Are your parents also from Bilbao, and grandparents also, or which cities
Yes.
are?
Yes, many years ago, in my grandparents' period, I had one grandmother that was not from Bilbao. She was born in another part of Spain. But in the past, as Bilbao was like a very industrial city, and there were a lot of jobs, many people from all over Spain and also from all over Europe came to Bilbao to work, or came to the Basque Country to work, because there were a lot of opportunities. So there are many kids that were raised. For example, my parents were born here. A generation of my parents, 60 years old more or less, were born here, and my generation too. But our grandparents' generation, many of them are not born here. I have two, on my father's side, both of them were born here, and my surnames are Basque. And from my mother's side, my grandfather had a Basque surname, and my grandmother came from another part of Spain.
Okay. So you have like really deep roots in the Basque Country from
Yeah.
both sides of the family.
Yes.
And does your last name mean something in Basque?
Okay, so there are many theories because my last name is Garcia, the first one is Garcia. So there are theories. I mean, this last name is one of the most common in Spain, in all Spain. And there are theories that say that this surname comes from the Basque language, and this surname is Basque from Navarra, this Basque territory, and they have connected this surname to the word garce or gaste, that is young in Basque. But they are theories. I try to investigate a lot, try to do a lot of research on it because it's quite interesting to know about your roots and so on. But I didn't find anything like 100%, like any theories that I explained that was totally true or totally false. So for the moment, I don't know if it is a Basque name that has been like very common all over Spain or not.
Okay, that's surprising. I didn't know that there might be like a connection to the Basque language.
Mhm.
So your second last name, is it also does that have meaning?
Yes, the my second last name is quite long. It's Charramendieta, and this is Basque. 100%.
Yeah.
It's true that this is quite interesting, I think, because in here there are many rural places, and in rural places you have like the typical farmhouse, big farmhouse. You are surrounded by different kinds of green landscapes, and so as yeah, like Basque has also like the language itself has also kind of rural traditional identity. It was spoken in like very remote areas, and I think that that's also why Basque has endured, because it was totally spoken in rural areas and so on. So there are many last names that are related to nature, that are related to like the name of cities, the name, as in many other languages, name of towns, name of cities, concepts, ideas, feelings, emotions, but most are related to landscapes, and also names, not only last names. So Charramendieta, it has Mendi in the middle, Mendi, and Mendi is mountain. And
Mm,
then, yes,
yeah.
and then charra itself, literally nowadays, charra is bad. But charra is an evolution of a char, that is house. A chea is house. So a char, like also an evolution. So
Yeah.
my ancestors may live in the mountain in a house, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, that's a nice picture in my imagination, like a house in the mountain. That sounds
Mhm.
nice. Uh, like I think last names are really interesting because they show some history and uh, for example, my last name means a pearl.
Mhm.
So I guess my ancestors were like pearl divers. And
Mhm.
this is from my dad's side. He's from Sri Lanka. My mom is Finnish. Um, so I actually didn't know for many years that it had a meaning because I don't speak my dad's language.
Mhm.
Just when I was much older. Are there many last names linked to professions as well in Basque?
Ah,
Like,
professions. Let me see. There may be.
how do you
Um,
say Smith? You know, blacksmith or Smith, because that one is usually one of the most common ones in. I don't know if you have seen on Instagram or somewhere. Usually they have like these maps of Europe, and the Smith
uh-huh.
is one, and then the last name Smith or the word Smith translated, and it shows like it's one of the most common last names in almost all the countries.
Very interesting. Blacksmith. I have never met a person with like blacksmith surname, but one of the like most famous movies in Basque, it is on Netflix, and it is called Errementari, and that's blacksmith in how we say blacksmith in Basque,
Mm,
Errementari.
yeah.
Yes.
What about some other professions? Because Smith is, I think, one of the top five, top 10
Mm-hmm.
most common ones. There are also others.
If
I
I'm
can't remember
honest,
now.
I can't remember now. Like it doesn't ring any bells. There may be some, or there may be, yeah, one, two, but it doesn't ring any bells. The majority of the last names in Basque are related to nature, for
Yeah,
sure. Yes, and or to like Basque words, like typical Basque words and common words, but I cannot recall now any jobs. There may be, but
yeah,
I don't remember now. Sorry.
yeah, sure. Yeah, actually, also in Finland, we have really a lot of the last names linked to nature.
Mm-hmm.
I read that during Francisco Franco's dictatorship, it was
Hmm.
forbidden to give babies a Basque name.
Hmm.
Is that true? And what about the last names? Was it? Yeah, you can tell about this if you
Okay.
know.
Yes. Okay. So during the dictatorship of Franco, what he wanted was that Spain was just one. There was no, like, he didn't want any diversity. So to ensure, or yeah, to ensure that he banned all languages and like traditions, culture that were not like Spanish or Spanish traditions. So he banned Galician, Catalan, and Basque. And if somebody saw you or he could hear you speaking in Basque, or in Catalan, or well, in Catalan and in Galicia, in Catalonia and Galicia, I don't know. I know in the Basque Country, if somebody heard you speaking in Basque, you could go to jail. There are also testimonies that you could be killed. So it was a language that was totally forbidden. Therefore, you couldn't speak it even at home. If somebody would go and tell that you were speaking at home Basque, you would be in trouble. You couldn't speak it at home, you couldn't sing, there were no magazines, there were no newspapers, nothing. They wanted, or they wanted to make the language disappear, and that would be, from my point of view, a disaster. Because it's also disappearing like what we are, and um, so yeah. Uh, so what people started doing, also Basque schools disappeared. What people started doing was to use Basque, to speak Basque, hidden, like in a hidden way. For example, my father, like my grandparents didn't know Basque, but my father was like, since he was a child, he was eager to learn Basque, to speak Basque, and so on. So, um, as my dad is 63, he lived his young life under this dictatorship. So he was raised without being able to speak Basque in a free way or freely. Therefore, him and many people used to gather in basements or hidden places in order to sing songs in Basque, to speak Basque. They would teach each other Basque so they could continue with the language, because I think this language has like a special thing that is like related to who we are, to our roots. And we also know that it's a minority language, and it's an endangered language too. So that's why I think it makes us feel like more protectors of it. So yeah, my dad used to speak or try to speak the language, as I told you, sing songs, doing like traditional things and so on, but hidden, so that he could continue learning and also he could feel Basque. And the other question you asked me, I don't remember, sorry.
Uh, I forgot it also, but I have some
The
questions I wanted to.
surnames and the Basque names and the Basque surnames. In my case, for example, my grandfather had a Basque surname, Charmendieta, and it is with TX originally, because in Spanish, oh sorry, in Basque, there is no C, so there is no CH. It doesn't exist in our language. So my grandfather's surname was with TX, but in the Franco's dictatorship, he was obliged to change to Spanish surname. So instead of TX, he had to change it to CH. And that's what happened to many people.
And do your parents and grandparents have Spanish or Basque first names? Because I guess you couldn't give a Basque first name during Franco.
Yes, that's it. In the past, in not only in the Basque Country but also in Spain, it was common that if there was like if the child was a girl, had like compound na names. So the first would be Maria, and my mom is Maria Jesus. And then if you were a boy, the most common thing is that the first name was Jose or also Juan. And then the second, for example, my father is Jose Antonio. And in here, in Bilbao, or in Vizcaya, our virgin is Begoña, and that is Basque, Begoña. So my aunt, that was the first child, and then my mom came later. My aunt has Maria Begoña in the name. So like, as it was a virgin's name, it was possible that she was called this way.
Yeah. Okay. And can you remind all of us when was Franco's dictatorship? It was like around 20 years from the 40s until like 68 or 60 something.
Yes, that's it. It was from the 40s until the 1975.
75. Okay.
Yes, yes. So when, like, as time passed by, for example, in the 70s, the bans or the prohibitions were a bit less because he was like going worse and worse. So they started to 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 launch like
Revitalized the language?
yeah, revitalize like public things in Basque and so on. But until like when he died, everything changed. Like the whole story changed because after he died and there was the democracy, the Basque government invested a lot of money in implementing Basque as like the main language at schools, um, doing many newspapers in Basque. Also here, even nowadays, you can learn Basque almost for free in Euskaltegiak. Euskaltegi is like a Basque school, but for not children, but also adults. And you can learn here almost for free. You have to pay the tuition and you have to pay, but then if you prove that you have been going to lessons, they will return you like 80% of the money, 90% of the money. So yeah, since the democracy, I think that the Basque Country did a really good job in investing a lot of money in fostering the language so that it continues surviving and evolving and so on. Yes, and for example, nowadays, if you want to have a public job, you need a Basque certificate.
Oh,
In my
really?
case, yes, in my case, I am a teacher, and you cannot work nowadays at the school if you don't have like an advanced Basque certificate because you are going to speak in that language to the children, even if you are like an English teacher or Spanish teacher. In general, you have to speak Basque at school. And it's true that, for example, there are some like sectors that do not have, for example, hospitals do not have enough people with that know Basque and even do not have enough people in general.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they contract or they hire people from Spain and they are not required like a Basque certificate. But it's true that you have like more points and more job opportunities, much more job opportunities, if you have a Basque certificate. And also for police officers, if you have the Basque certificate, you will have much more points and yeah, more job opportunities. And I feel that's a good thing because even if there are places, for example, in Bilbao, you will hear Spanish. If you hear children or parents speaking to children, you will hear Basque. You will also hear Basque with adults and so on, like when adults are speaking. But it's true that you will also hear Spanish. So I feel that for many people here, Basque is their like native language and their first language. So if they go to a public place and they cannot be understood in their native language, I think that it's good if we ask that public people or public workers know this language. That's my point of view.
Yeah, that's really good. So your grandparents spoke Spanish as their first
Yes,
language, and
yes.
then they spoke both both of your grandparents spoke to your mom and dad Spanish, but both of your parents then learned Basque because they were quite young when the dictatorship ended.
Yes.
And I read it, the flourishing of Basque started in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
68 was something, maybe standardization or something important in uh, Basque language.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess like after 75, when Franco died, like you said, it got much better. So your parents were quite young in 75, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
maybe around 10 years or something like that. So did they, do you know, did your parents speak after that Basque? Uh, I mean, did they speak Spanish with their parents, your grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
but Basque
My
with other people? Or
Yes, yes. My grandparents didn't know Basque and they don't know Basque. They are my two grandparents are still alive,
oh
almost
wow,
100 years old.
yeah,
uh, they know some words, the typical words in Basque. They always like the one, yeah, the channel they see most on the TV is the ETV. ETV is Euskal Telebista, that is the Basque TV. We have like two channels, the Basque TV that is in Spanish and the Basque TV that is in Basque. As they don't know Basque, they know like several words, like typical expressions and so on. They see every day the Basque TV, but in Spanish. And then my parents started to learn Basque like on their own. My father, for example, also when I was a child, I remember that he continued studying and going to the Euskaltegi, to the Basque school, because he wanted, and
yeah,
also because he wanted a better job, and it was required like an advanced certificate. But in my father's case, it was also a hobby and something he wanted to do because he also studied another dialect of Basque, and that is not required for certificates. And
mm,
he spent a lot of months and years studying also another dialect. In my mother's case, she studied to have her certificate, and then she stopped studying, but she knows like how to manage. And so my father used to, when I was a baby, since I was a baby, my father spoke to me in Basque. And nowadays, I am very grateful because, you know, having an having an
mm,
immersion in a language since you are a baby, that makes that language for you is like natural. You don't have to translate it from like another from Spanish, for example, and it is like you continue. Yeah, you speak that language as if it was your first language. Because in my case, my mom spoke to me in Spanish and my dad spoke to me in Basque. So I am like
yeah.
balanced bilingual kind of.
And your
And
dad spoke only Basque, or do you sometimes speak Spanish or just Basque?
yes, I speak nowadays with my parents in Spanish because also my family, like my grandparents and so on, don't know Basque. So it would be very strange like to change codes because sometimes I don't
Yeah,
know if it happens to you, but if you start or when you meet a person and you start speaking in a language, for me it's very difficult to change like that language, you know? So
I
there are,
understand. Yeah.
yeah, there are, for example, colleagues that I always speak to them in Basque, even if we're not at work, because it's like the our language, like the language when we met, and we have been speaking in the language. So yeah, with my parents now I speak in Spanish because also my mom like knows Basque, but she doesn't have like an advanced command. So it would be very strange. It's a pity, but it would be very strange too that I only speak to my dad in Basque, but then
Yeah.
we have to translate everything to my mom. It's sad because there are families that all of them, all the family speak in Basque, and it's very beautiful. But in that's not my case nowadays. But in the future, if I have any children, I want to speak to them in English and in Basque, at least when they are kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand the situation that it's I've also felt the same that if you speak to a person in one language, it would be really weird changing. For example, I don't speak yet my dad's language, Sinhala, but I want to learn it. I'm going to learn in the following years, but
Mhm.
I will never speak it to my dad. I'm going to speak only Finnish to him because it would be so weird.
Yes.
I can't imagine speaking. I will talk to like strangers or other people
Yeah.
this language, but not to my dad. Even even if I become fluent, or I also have heard him speaking this language, but he did
Mhm.
never spoke it to me. Only Finnish.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you mentioned that there are also families that only speak Basque. So what I wanted to ask is that so first of all, Basque has, according to Wikipedia, a bit over 800,000 speakers, like
Mhm.
most of them in Spain, like 94%.
Mhm.
How in your generation, how common is it to know Basque, and what do you think? Did your parents' generation, are there a lot of people in Basque country now who are Basque but
Mhm.
don't speak the language?
Mhm. In my generation, for example, in my case, at my school, I was like the first year or the first promotion, the first year that we studied everything, like all the subjects in Basque. I studied science in Basque, biology, chemistry, since kindergarten.
So you were the
Like,
first year that,
in my
oh,
school,
okay, near.
because yeah, because I live in a town very near Bilbao, like 10 minutes away from Bilbao by car. But in my town, in my school, my year was the first generation of having like total immersion of the language and all the subjects in Basque, all since
Mm,
kindergarten. I started kindergarten and then I finished university, and all my studies had been in Basque. Even at university, I remember that I didn't know how to write like forms or how to write documents in Spanish because
yeah,
I was used to, and I use Spanish every day because I was used to writing in Basque, explaining also or doing presentations in Basque. I didn't know how to manage in Spanish. And it was, yeah, it was quite curious because I was not the only person that this happened. Also, my mates said so. Like we didn't know how to write like formal documents or express like formally in Basque because
yeah.
sorry, in Spanish, because we have been doing it in Basque our entire lives. So yeah, my generation, yeah, most people, like I would say 90% of kids know Basque and know how to manage and communicate efficiently in daily conversations and so on. 90% of my generation.
So you're born 92,
Yes,
1992.
yes.
So people born like in the 90s and after,
Hmm.
like 90% or more.
I would
No.
say so. I think so. It's true that then many people do not speak like in a daily basis, or after they finish school, they decide not to speak it. So it's sad because like you have been speaking it for many years. It's true that for many people here, it's not their first language or native language. Like only 16, sorry, only 16% speak it every day as their native language. So the figure is very little. But it's true that if members of your family don't know Basque, it's very hard that you like continue. It's very hard to see that. And it's sad because it's true that when you are with a group of friends, and imagine there are 10 friends, and one person doesn't know Basque,
Yeah.
automatically like the entire group turns to Spanish. And it's quite, yeah, I personally feel that's a pity because that person could learn Basque, you know? I know it's not a super easy language, but it's sad because this way, like 9 people change their like yeah their customs. Uh, yeah, I think so. But it's true that I think in Basque, learning more and more is becoming this language like well known or more famous, and more people all over the world are curious about it and are eager to study it and to speak it when they come here. Um, so that's also some good news, that this region, this language, our culture, traditions, and so on are also known worldwide as time passes by more and more.
Yeah.
Um,
I will ask more about the cultural stuff and the language, but so I read there are 434,000 passive speakers, and I think you just mentioned what you said earlier. Now were exactly these people who have studied it in school, but then decide not to speak it in their daily life. But I think in total, the native speakers and passive speakers, that's like 1.2 million. So that's not too bad.
mhm.
When you compare, for example, the small languages here in Finland, we have the Sami languages, the 9 different Sami languages, not all of them in Finland, but the biggest one of them has 40,000 speakers, and the smallest ones have like less than 1,000. Some of
Mhm.
them have just like 300. And
Yeah,
so
that's
compared to
sad.
this, Basque has a quite good situation currently.
Mm. And also that you mentioned earlier about the dialects, that there was a new standard uh, dialect, or the standard Basque language was created, and many people say that that's artificial and so on. The thing is that there are like 5 dialects in the Basque Country, and it is like a little region, and there are many dialects. So in order to like collect or to make like one dialect or that was like standard, they decided to take one of the dialects, like 60%, 70% of it, and they created this standard dialect so that people know which one is the one they can communicate with everyone, you know. So people that have like a natural dialect, for example, feel that the standard dialect is very artificial, that is not totally Basque, like 100% original Basque. So there's like quite like competition. But it's true that the thing about the dialects is that the core words, the verbs, are very different. Like, for example, I understand Biscayan dialect. I understand the dialect that is spoken here in some regions. I can understand it, but I cannot speak it because the verbs are totally different from the standard verbs. So that's why they decide, in order, I think that one of the reasons was to make the language not disappear, because and they decided to do this standard language. And when you speak it, people that speak the dialects, or people that their native language is one of the dialects, feel, not all of them, but feel that you're not speaking real Basque. And I don't feel it that way, because it's also Basque. It's true that it is a bit artificial, but it's Basque, and it was like the majority of the words were taken from a dialect itself. So yes, this is what it is.
Yeah, I read the same. Something similar happened in my mother tongue Finnish, but that was like maybe in the 1800s when they started like
Uh-huh.
standardizing the language. They picked one dialect, and then the other people were starting to think, that doesn't sound good. It's so artificial, and also
Mm-hmm.
because many Finns spoke Swedish, uh,
Mm-hmm.
or like ethnic Finns. So they switched to Finnish, and when they started speaking Finnish, it sounded the formal Finnish. It sounded a bit weird, and people were like, that's not, that sounds
Mm-hmm.
weird," or something like that. And it took maybe one generation or two generations that the Finnish language became uh, like the people who were Swedish speakers and switched to Finnish, that their children or grandchildren then started speaking more like a standard way, or it didn't sound so artificial anymore. I'm not sure. I read about it long time
Mm-hmm.
ago, but I guess this happens always when you standardize
Yeah.
the language. So Basque just did it in 68, so it's a recent thing. Yeah, I think also people think Basque is such a unique language because it's the only language isolate in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it quite unique. And I read that 40% of the vocabulary is borrowed from Romance languages, of course, because it's surrounded by all the Romance languages. But
Mm-hmm.
I think now we could speak a bit about Basque language. But before I let you speak, I have prepared 10 phrases that I will try to say in Basque.
Okay.
I will say one phrase in Basque. You will then translate into English to the viewers. I don't know about my pronunciation, but I will try.
Okay.
Okay. Kaixo gustio.
Gustioi. Yes, kaixo gustioi.
Gustioi.
That's it. Perfect. Hello, everyone.
I don't understand my own writing now here. Nire izena Christian da.
Very good. Perfect. My name is Christian.
Did I say it well?
Yes, nire
Okay.
isena Christianda. Yes.
Yeah. Ni Finlandiera nais.
Finlandia ra, double R. Finlandia ra, nice. I am Finnish.
Finlandiera. Okay.
Yes.
In Google, it gave just one R.
Uh-huh. No, because the one R is like
The
direction.
language.
Like Finlandia ra noa is like I'm going to
Two.
Finland.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Um, Rovaniemin busy nice.
Okay, very good. Romania. I live in
Rovaniemi.
Rovaniemi.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
live in Rovaniemi.
how do you say the Z?
The
BZ.
BC. Yes,
B
BC.
BC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have to say, you have a really good pronunciation of the. I guess Finnish words would be really easy for you because you said almost like a native. Rovaniemi. Nire familia Tamperekoada.
Okay, my family is from uh,
Tampere.
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 Tampere. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a city. Is it the like the or the da, or is it more
Da.
like it's da?
Soft. Yeah, it's
Da.
soft. In English, it's not so soft, but in Basque, it's da.
Oh,
Soft.
okay, more like in Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay, da. Uh, Tampere Finlandiako Hegoaldean Dago. Dago.
Okay. Tampere is in the south of Finland. Yeah,
Yes.
and for example, if you want to sound like more natural, usually the intonation is quite tricky in Basque. So I don't remember your phrase. Can you repeat, please?
Tampere. Tampere Finlandiako Hegoaldean Dago.
Okay, Tampere, Finlandiako, hegoaldean dago. That would be
Okay.
like the natural way. Finland, as the words have declensions, people usually struggle to and like to do the intonation or to pronounce yeah, the rhythm like natural. It's not a problem, but if you want to sound like more natural, Finlandiako hegoaldean dago. Like the stress usually is at the end of the word.
Ah, Finlandiako Hegoaldean.
Finlandiako hegoaldean dago.
Finlandiako Hegoaldean Dago.
Perfect.
Okay. Nire ama hizkuntze Finlandiera da.
Okay. Nire ama is my mom. Here we would have to put declension, like nire amaren hizkuntza, like the language of my mother,
Mother
right?
tongue, yeah.
Yeah. Ah, okay, my mother tongue. Okay, so
Is it incorrect, the
uh,
translation here?
my mother tongue would be nire ama hizkuntza. Yes, nire ama hizkuntza.
Ah,
Yes, yes. I thought that your mother spoke
ah,
something.
no, no, no.
Yeah, nire ama hizkuntza, Finlandiarra da,
Ah, okay.
I think.
Yeah.
You said so.
And H is also not omitted
Mute.
like in
Yeah, like
Spanish.
in
Yeah, yeah.
Spanish.
Okay.
Mute.
Ogeita amalau urte ditut.
Very good. Hogeita malau urte ditut. I am 34 years old.
Yeah, so I'm 1990 born.
Mhm.
Still two. Eh, Hizkuntza, hizkuntzak ikastea gustatzen zait.
Very good. Hizkuntzak ikastea gustatzen zait. There's not like I know I told you that the stress goes usually at the end, but not like all the time. So
Okay.
it's quite tricky. Yes. Hizkuntzak ikastea gustatzen zait. I think you said. I like learning languages.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, the stress is actually hard in many languages.
Hmm.
In Finnish, it's extremely easy because it's always on the first syllable.
Ah,
So
interesting.
yeah, but
Yeah.
my wife is from Ukraine. Her mother tongue is Russian, and in
Hmm.
Russian is it's a nightmare. Even she
Hmm.
doesn't always know. She has to. There's one website where she sometimes checks with some really hard, rare
Uh-huh.
words, like what's the official way of pronouncing, like where should you
Hmm.
put the stress. And
Hmm.
now I have the last phrase here.
Hmm.
Eskerrik asko eta agur.
Very good. Eskerrik asko eta agur is thank you and goodbye.
Yes, yes, it was difficult. It's so the stress is difficult, but the words with a bad like intonation is easy because they yeah maybe some letters I'm not sure how to pronounce them like the Z, but otherwise it doesn't seem so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked at the grammar, um, as a Finn, it doesn't seem like impossible. We have 15 cases in Finnish, and you have 14, so one
Mm-hmm.
less. Also, Estonian, which is in the same language family as Finnish, and I speak Estonian fluently. Estonian has 14,
Mm-hmm.
and when I checked the different cases, I could think of a case in Finnish that does almost exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And if there were some cases that we don't have there, we might use not a case, but maybe a preposition or postposition plus the word like noun in some case. For example, you have also six locative cases in Basque.
Mm-hmm.
We have also in Finnish.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, the inessive, allative, and ablative, like in a house, to a house, from a house, we have exactly the same thing. Uh, and just seeing the different endings was like, okay, this is easy.
Mm-hmm.
And terminative until something, it doesn't exist in Finnish, but it's in Estonian.
Mm-hmm.
In Basque, for example, in Estonian, you would say you could use it uh, in physical places, like until something, but also abstract things like time. Is it the same in Basque?
We differentiate the declensions in living things also, and in non-living things, places, and so on. So, for example, you can say, um, I went until the top of the mountain. Um, Let me see.
Yeah, would it be the same until the top of the mountain and until like
And
two
until you
o'clock?
or to you.
Like until 2 o'clock, like time. Would these time and place
Yeah, they are different
they are
because
different? Okay.
we would say until the top of the mountain, daño, like mendiraño, or until the mountain,
Yeah.
mendiraño, with daño declension, but then until 2 o'clock would be ordubiak arte, and it wouldn't be a declension, but a separate word. And it is
Like po-
until
like a post position.
it would be.
Preposition or post position. Do you
Mhm.
put it after the word or before the word? The
Yeah, after arte.
Okay.
Yeah, after.
And in Finnish we have much more postpositions. We don't almost have prepositions. We have a few, but very
Hmm.
few. What about Basque? Do you have more postpositions or prepositions?
I didn't count them.
Yeah, but
The thing is that, yeah, the thing is that Basque doesn't have prepositions. It has like separate words or individual words. We have declensions. Like if you want to translate from other languages the prepositions, you wouldn't translate them in separate or individual words. They would be suffixes.
no. We have the same in Finnish, but
Ah,
we have a few, very few prepositions because we
we
have the
have a lot.
yeah we have the case system like you have, and then we have like some postpositions sometimes which we use together with the case systems. Like the noun is in a certain case, and after
Hmm.
that comes the postposition.
Hmm. Yeah, like all the prepositions you can say in Spanish, they can be translated into Basque as declensions.
Yeah.
And even in one word, there can be, it's not common, but there can be like five declensions. It's more common, like one, two, and even three. So yeah, and also there are like now I cannot recall of any words, but there are some like ideas that as they are combined with different declensions, this concept, like when I teach Basque to my students, I cannot explain to them like clearly how it looks like in Spanish because that idea or that concept combining those declensions doesn't exist in Spanish. And I tell them, you have to study this this way because it is only in Basque, not in English, not in Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we concentrate more on the teaching side, I have still some questions about the language.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you can answer this, but I saw you have like two genitives, like local genitive and possessive genitive. So is the possessive genitive like in Finnish it would be like Christian, Christianin. So you put N or in or something in the end, or Irati, Iratin. Is this the possessive genitive?
Yes, we would write den.
Oh,
Den, Irati Ren. For example, the house of Irati, Irati Ren Etxea.
yeah.
Irati Ren Etxea. Yes.
Christian then, Christian then.
In your case, as your name finishes in consonant, we would write
Uh, uh,
en. So
oh, okay,
Christianen Echean. My name ends in vowel, so we would write Ren.
okay.
Yes, Christianen Echea.
That's almost like Finnish. Christianin, Christianen.
Mhm, mhm.
So similar.
Yes, and
Uh,
then for example, sorry, and then for example, for places, that wouldn't be possible because we differentiate like living things, non-living things, places. So if you want to say like the I don't know, the shop of Bilbao, we would say Bilbo Co. We wouldn't say
oh,
Bilboren. We would say Bilbo Co. Bilbo
oh,
Co
okay.
Denda, for example.
Okay. In Finnish, it's, for example, Spain, España, Spain's Españan, just
Uh-huh.
similar. So this ko is, I guess, this is the local genitive.
Look at, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because that was the only case I just quickly read everything and I was like, okay, I'm not totally sure what this local genitive is, but all the other ones I understood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you have some interesting facts about the Basque language? Maybe something surprising that you have
Mm-hmm.
discovered because of your students or something?
Mm-hmm. From my point of view, Basque is a very poetic language because it's true that there are many words. It's an ancient language, so it's true that many words, modern words, are taken, are borrowings from other languages. For example, telephone, like when Basque was born, let's say, there weren't telephones or cars. So telephone, we say telefonoa. Cars, we say autoa. So it's true that there are many words that are borrowings from other languages or are adapted, taken from other languages. But it's also true that many words are originally Basque, and there are some words that are quite poetic. Now I tell you some examples because they refer like to ideas. For example, um, the way we have to say, or the word we use to say to give birth to a child is erditu, that verb, erditu. And erdi is half. So we understand that you, like, by giving birth, you are like cut in half, some
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
And what else? For example, there's also like a word that is friend, that is laguna or lagoon. And we have the verb lagundu. And the verb lagundu, like usually what is supposed to do a friend, a good friend, like helping you, right? So lagun is friend as a noun, and lagundu as a verb is to help. So
Mm, yeah.
there are many things and many words, very like curious, interesting words that have like interesting meanings or interesting concepts, ideas, and yeah, for example, to fall in love with someone, we call it maite min. Maite is to love, and min is pain. So it's like when you fall in love, it's kind of like mm, pain.
Yeah, a certain kind of pain. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand the
And also,
meaning. Yeah.
like when you have a really good friend, really, really good friend, we also say lagun min. So it's like pain friend,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you share the pain with
that's it.
this friend because he or she is so close.
That's it. And there are like many, many examples. So yeah, I feel it's a very beautiful language and very poetic because of these kind of ideas, words, concepts. Yes.
Are there any words from Basque that have entered English language that everyone uses, everyone knows?
Mm-hmm. I would have to check out because now I don't really know that, but I know the words that have entered Spanish language thanks to the Basque, and one of the words is very common, left, like the word
Izquierda?
left, izquierda comes from Basque, esquerra, yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think my Spanish teacher mentioned because it looked something
Yeah,
different.
yeah, yeah. So it comes from Basque originally. Then also, for example, when the witches gather, that is aquelarre. And we have many legends related to witches and so on. So aquelarre, when the witches gather
Yeah.
to do their rituals and so on, that word is also in Basque and it has been taken to Spanish but it's like from but they have taken it from the Basque language.
What can you repeat the word in Basque and Spanish?
Yeah, aquelarre, aquelarre.
Aquelarre?
Yes,
This is Spanish?
in Spanish
Say?
is the same because
Yeah.
they decided to keep it. And in Basque, for example, we don't have Q, the Q. So the in Spanish, aquelarre is also with K.
Q-U-E.
Yeah, we don't have Q, U. We
Yeah.
have K.
K.
Many
Yeah, yeah.
words, yeah, many words with K. So izquierda is with Q, but aquelarre is with K, like in Basque.
Okay. So the gathering of witches.
Yes, that's it.
Did you have in like hundreds of years ago were like women prosecuted of being witches and were they like burned because something like that happened in Finland, but I don't remember when was the last trial.
Hmm.
Maybe 200 in the 1800s, I'm not sure, but it happened here in I don't know when, but 15, 1600s probably. So was that, do you know about this? Was it common in Basque
Okay,
country?
in here, I think that the thing about the witches is a bit different because the witches here are like we take them as yeah, mythological figures and also powerful figures. So there are many caves in here, therefore there are many legends of witches. The most important one or the most famous one, and there is also a movie, is Sugarramurdi, like The Witches of Sugarramurdi. It's also a movie, a Spanish movie. And they were considered like creatures that did rituals, but they were like very powerful. So I don't think that there were like witch, I mean, maybe yes, witch trials and so on, but
Okay, okay. So it's more linked to the myths and
yes.
not like that. Okay, you're because what I've heard is that here. someone just didn't like someone, and someone's who had more power said, "Oh, she's a witch," and then they were
Mm-hmm.
taken to a trial and killed or something like that.
Yes, maybe there were, but I think that here the custom was like to gather in the caves and dancing and so on. So I cannot recall. I
Okay.
would have to check out.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So there are like stories about witches like
Mm-hmm. Yes.
in the caves and like that.
Yes.
What else call what else could you tell about the culture? Whether it's the mythology or even everyday things, what's really typical to Basque culture? For example, here in Finland, sauna. Sauna is one of
Mm-hmm.
the things we love to do, and the whole world knows about Finnish saunas, and the word sauna has even entered from Finnish to English and many other.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can tell about Basque culture.
Okay. So in here, one of the, I think, the most well-known things is that we eat, or stereotype, we eat really well. Like the food, the gastronomy is delicious in here because the quality of the products is like comes from like rural places. We planted a lot. We also had like a lot of animals. There were also many fishermen. So in here, many chefs are very, very famous worldwide. And that's like the typical stereotype that if you come to the Basque Country, the food you're gonna try is delicious. And the gastronomy, like the techniques, one of the most important schools, like cooking schools, is in here in the Basque Country, and it's like a reference in not only in Spain but in Europe. So yeah, I think that would be like one of the most difficult stereotypes.
Well, wait, I have to interrupt you about food. I
Uh-huh.
have to say that we in Finland are the total opposite. Uh,
Uh-huh.
like for example, Silvio Berlusconi one year came to Finland and said the food was shit, and the whole
Oh.
country was like, "Oh, what is he saying?" But I have to say that Finnish food is okay. It can be good, but it's usually not the best.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but
Oh.
okay, you can. So Silvio Berlusconi made it like uh the whole world know about the bad food here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah, continue about
Yeah,
the
yeah. Then,
Basque
for
culture.
example, when it comes to personality, let's say, I think that also there's the stereotype that the Basque person is like a bit colder if you compare it to a person from the south of Spain that are always singing and happy and so on. But I think that it's a stereotype, but it depends on the person
Yeah,
you encounter. I also think that compared to other regions, like our personality is like more direct. So if we think about one thing, we are going to tell you. We are not going to lie to you, and we are not going to tell you, "Oh, that's perfect," and you're not, and we are not thinking
yeah,
like that. So many people think we are cold or too honest sometimes, but I think that's also like something nice because we are real. We are not fake. I'm not gonna tell you, oh, I like you as a friend,
yeah,
and then I think, oh, I can't stand him. Like
yeah,
we are more direct and more, yeah, if we tell you something it's because we think, and yeah, we think it, and it's like we are more real, I think. But we are also like um we have a lot of hospitality, I think. When you are coming to the Basque Country, for us, you are coming to our house, so we want you to feel like home, as in many other cultures and yeah, countries. But yeah, we want you to feel like at home, so we are going to give you a lot of food so that you can try, you can eat, and yeah, that's yeah, when it comes to personality, I think those would be like the stereotypes. And then also we are very connected to our roots. Like many people here, if they go abroad, it's because they have like better job opportunities and so on. But it's very hard for us to leave our hometown, to leave our city, because we feel connected to it. And when I lived abroad for a year, I was every day thinking not only in missing my family and my friends, but my culture, my identity, my roots every single day. So
Where
that's
did you live?
why I lived in Andalusia,
Yeah,
in the south of Spain.
yeah.
So even the south of Spain is amazing, and it's really cool. The climate is also really cool. The people are really nice. I missed the Basque Country every day.
Yeah, it's funny to me that you mentioned that abroad, because Spain is like one
Yes.
country, but from going from Basque Country to Andalusia for you is like abroad.
Yes, because they for me they are two different countries. Not only politically speaking, when it comes to the customs, the way of being, the codes,
Hmm.
the codes are different socially speaking. So, for example, something that here may be correct in Andalusia was not correct, like social conversations, you
Yeah,
know, or the other way around.
yeah,
Something that could be offensive for me because I was Basque, for them was not. So, and also like the way uh, the society is managed.
yeah.
Yes, it was like another planet
Can
for
you
me.
remember any examples about like for example, let me explain a bit. For example, I lived like 3 months in China,
Hmm.
2017, and I've traveled a bit around the world, and like I was in Sri Lanka. So my experiences, for example, in these countries and also Latin America and others. Um, so for example, in China, it's really uh, common to ask, for example, the age, like how old are you? But here in Finland, especially, well, usually you cannot ask women their age.
Hmm.
Also, like salary or that kind of stuff. And for example, in Sri Lanka, the first questions strangers asked were like, okay, country, um, name, age, married. Are you married? Oh, not
Hmm.
married. Why are not married? And if you're married, okay, children. No. Do you have children? No. Why no children? Because here it's really sensitive. If I mean, someone could have problems of getting children, or
Hmm.
someone might not want to even have children, but they're like super direct and asking like, okay, all these questions. And in yeah, for these examples were the first ones that came into my mind that are really different here in Finland, because
Hmm.
uh, some of these would be some people would be shocked hearing them. So
Hmm.
do you have any similar examples from Spain, like
Okay.
Andalusia and Basque
Yeah.
Country?
When it comes to culture shocks, I remember that this depends, depends on the person, depends on the place, and so on. The place I was in, I was a bit shocked that the free time activities they had, for example, in here, we have like many things to do because we live like, if you don't live in the city, you are close to the city. So you have many things to do, not only going partying or going to bars, to
Yeah,
restaurants. You have like a, many free time activities to do. And a culture shock for me was that in Andalusia, um, many people's like free time activity is to gather with friends in a bar and staying there like 7 hours. And for me, that's different in here because you go from bar to bar and not necessarily that's the only plan you can have or you can make. You can like go to the shopping center, then you can visit whatever, a museum, for example. Then you can go bar to bar, then you can go to a club, then I felt that like they were in a bar and they spent like the whole afternoon, evening in that bar, and that was the plan.
Yeah.
There were no other plans. And they also, from my point of view, the group of friends I was with drank alcohol like all the time. And here it's also like that, but I think it's a bit different because we do different things. Yes, but they're like the free time activity, the top free time activity, I think it's yeah, gathering with friends and drinking.
Yeah.
And here we also do that, but we do more things, I think. And also another culture shock that was for me something that I would like to do here was that also wherever, imagine if we gathered in Andalusia in a house, suddenly a person took a guitar and started like singing, and many people gathered around and started like singing, and it was super cool. And here we don't really start singing like out of nowhere or at any moment. I would have liked that
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, that would be also quite unusual here.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's a nice tradition, I think. And yes, many culture shocks, but yeah, because we are different, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to also see and to blend with another different, yeah, with another different reality.
Yeah. So I would like to ask now about the teaching and learning Basque. First,
Mhm.
first of all, I'm really curious to know uh, from which countries do you usually have students? I would assume the majority is from Spain.
Mm-hmm. Okay, as I teach Basque English online, uh, my
Ah, Basque
students
in
are,
English. Okay.
yes, yeah. Now I'm focused teaching Basque in English. In the past, I used to teach Basque in Spanish, in English, but nowadays I'm more focused because it's like more convenient for me also to focus in a language. Teaching Basque in just English, uh, because I can cater for people from all over the world. And even I have students from Spain that like English and like
Yeah.
to also practice English and want to learn Basque in English. So
Two languages at the same time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the majority of my students, it's true that are from like the French Basque Country, also from UK and the United States, because there was diaspora like in during Franco's dictatorship.
Mhm.
Many people decided to escape, so they settled in California, for example, in the United States. There's a kind of colony that nowadays is very famous in Idaho, in the
Yeah.
town Boise. So
Oh, really?
um, yeah,
Boise. I just
Boise.
had one guest who was from Boise, actually. I don't,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
good. So that is a place I want to go so bad once in my life at least, because I want to see how it looks like the Basque there, because there are Basque schools, Basque center, Basque traditions. They do like a big feast, big Basque feast every 5 years, and our president, our Basque country's president, go there every 5 years. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
quite,
Really?
yeah, it's quite famous, and I would like to go there. I had students from Boise that their ancestors are Basque, or their parents, their grandparents were Basque, but they had to escape. and they want to continue with learning Basque and the culture and so on. And
Those
also,
those people, can you remember if they told that? Are there a lot of people who speak who have still maintained the language?
mhm,
I
yes,
mean, your students not, but maybe some people they know.
but even my students, because as they are like learning the language and not at the basic level, some of them they have like intermediate.
Oh, okay.
So some of them,
Yeah.
um, they can gather in daily conversations and so on. But yeah, there are like signals in Basque, banners in Basque, posters in Basque.
Yeah.
So yeah, quite cool. And also, people escaped and went to Latin American countries or regions. So there are also like little groups of Basque heritage, let's say,
Communities or
community. Thank you, of Basque little communities, and that's also like really cool to see, like how from all over the world are people that are telling me, "Hey, I want to learn Basque because of my
yeah.
emotional." Yes, my emotional side wants to connect with my roots, with my family, with my ancestors, and that for me is moving, like really, really moving. Yes.
And do you have a lot of people who don't have any connection to Basque and just want to learn it?
Yes, another profile would be your profile, let's say, that love learning languages and they know a lot of languages. And as Basque has this like unique essence.
Yeah.
They want to get to know it. They want to know more about it. They're interested in the culture and so on. So they ask me if they can enroll in my courses, and yeah, that would be the second profile. And the third profile, the typical one, would be also that they want to have a job in here, or they want to come to visit the Basque Country, to travel and that's why they want to learn some Basque. Yeah, and those would be the three ones. The one of the emotional side, because imagine your loved one is Basque, so the family is Basque, so you want to speak also the language with them, or because you have Basque ancestors and so on.
Yeah, yeah.
The other one would be,
So basically, own Basque heritage, partner, or just a huge language nerd, like the top motivations.
yes, and because they want to work here or travel here. Yes, those
Oh
are
yeah,
like the three most common motivations. Yes.
yeah. And what are usually the biggest struggles for your students? I guess it depends, of course, much from what their mother tongue is and their starting level.
Yes. I think that learning Basque in a basic level is easier than other languages because the grammar, for example, is very regular in a basic level. Um, when it comes to, for example, to say the present tense, you just have to learn like six verbs, and you can say any verb with just one suffix and one of those six verbs, depending on the person. But for example, in Spanish, you have to study different, like yo estoy, tú estás, él está, and different in each verb you have to study like six different ways of saying the verb. So
Mhm.
it's quite a lot. But in Basque, if you study that the present tense has a suffix sen, and then you say, for example, to say the person I, nice or dut, you just have to study those two, and
Mhm.
they are used for all the verbs. So uh, grammatica, when it comes to grammar in a basic level, then it gets more and more difficult. But in a basic level, it's easier than other languages. What is challenging for my students is that there are some words that are originally Basque, and the vocabulary is very different. Like the words itself are very different from Other languages they may know, so they have to study like by heart many things because yeah, the words they cannot, as in Italian, Spanish, the words can be kind of similar, or in English. In Basque, they are totally different. So that would be the thing that is maybe more difficult for my basic level students. Yes.
Have you had many who speak agglutinative languages as their mother tongue, like Finnish or others? If you have you noticed that it's easier for them to understand the grammar?
Yes, if I think that if you can compare it to a language you already know, it's easier, yeah, to understand like how it works or the foundations. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so probably some of those language nerds, if even if they speak a Romance language, if they have studied many languages,
Yeah,
agglutinative
I
languages,
think
probably then it's not the
they can
problem.
do, yes, they can do like similarities or differences. And I think if you know more languages, I think that it's easier to understand how it works. Yes, I think because you can make connections. Or yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what tends to be the most difficult grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation?
Grammar at an advanced level is difficult because the verbs, like you have to understand the um, the idea you want to transmit in order to take the correct verb or the correct auxiliary. So sometimes it is tricky, even for me. Like there are some verbs that we don't really use, but if you want to have like a very advanced level and speak like natural Basque and you want to transmit that idea, it's even for me sometimes difficult to use those verbs. Um, mm, yeah, but then vocabulary, it's true that as I told you, the words are very different, but then once you get them, I think you can continue with them. So yeah, depends on the person. Depends on if they are good at pronunciation or they are good at memorizing words, they are good at grammar. Depends. It depends. Yeah, I think it depends. On a
Yeah.
basic level, grammar, I think it's easier, but vocabulary, you have to learn many new words that are not related to other languages. But in an advanced level, maybe the vocabulary, you understand it more and you can know how to form more words and more ideas, but the grammar uh, tends to be more difficult, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Currently, where do you teach Basque? And like you said before, you earlier taught Basque also from Spanish. So maybe you can tell like the timeline when you started teaching Basque and the current situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I studied at university and at the state-funded or public university here in the Basque Country. I studied teacher training, and then when I finished, I started looking for jobs. I couldn't find like 100% of hours job. I would be teaching private lessons, but I couldn't
A
find.
teacher, like language teacher or teacher for school kids?
Yes, that's it. School kids, and my specialty are languages. So as I didn't find like a good job in here, I decided to start working online, and I was also like studying another degree so that I could be teaching at the schools, but to teenagers. I could also be teaching to adults. So I combined these two things, studying and teaching online, and I was in a language platform, italki, you may
Yeah.
know it. I was on italki, and there were not many Basque teachers. So many people hired me as their
Yeah.
Basque teacher. And it was a really cool experience because most of them were adults, and that was like a new experience for me. And also like transmitting or spreading my language worldwide, because I had students from all over the world, was also like something very emotional for me, and something that gave me a kind of sense, or logical sense, why I am here in this world. Kind of, I felt it that way. So as I was having like more and more students but less time, I decided to create a course, so that is self-paced. And in the past, I focused on more on conversations on the lessons rather than explanations, because the explanations, I recorded the explanations with my materials and so on, and then they could see the videos and then practice what they saw in the videos with conversational classes. Nowadays, I am teaching at a school. I am teaching teenagers, and I work like all the time from Monday to Friday. And I teach Spanish, English, and Basque. So now I don't have time to teach like private lessons. So I am preparing also. I have the course of Basque for initial level learners, basic level learners. And then in my free time, I am also preparing another course that I think that people are going to like, because it also combines cultural things, recommendations, and so on. But in the future, I will launch it. Um, and so nowadays I'm very busy because I have like two jobs
Yeah.
of working at school plus preparing lessons to to improve my courses or to launch new courses. And yeah, I'm very happy to be doing this because it gives me like more opportunities of having like interview with you, or also the radio from like the public radio from the Basque Country also called me, and I feel like
Yeah.
amazed. Yeah, it is such an honor to me when you tell me like, hey, would you like to do an interview? And it's like, of course.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I was looking for some Basque speakers on Instagram and other social medias, but there weren't many. I think your
Yes.
one was the like biggest and the most professional one, and that's why
Hmm.
I asked you. Um,
Yeah.
can you still once more tell which year you started on italki? Now it's 2025,
Uh-huh.
so which year?
Yeah, I started on 2018. Yeah,
2018. Okay.
2018. Yeah, September 2018.
And then you
Yes.
launch your course. You currently have one course for
One course,
beginners.
yes. Yes, that's it.
When
It's
did
a lot
you
of
launch?
Yeah, it's a lot of work because the course is like many hours, I think 12 hours, and I continue improving it because I think
Yeah,
there is something new. There is always something to improve. So I continue with improving it. I launched it in September of 2024, like officially, because now I'm working. Like in the past I worked on my own, like I launched courses, like little courses
yeah,
on my own, and I realized that that was like too much work
yeah,
because I love teaching, but then I don't know how to create a website, how to manage marketing and so on, and I don't really like that. I feel
yeah,
it's interesting, it's really cool, but my biggest motivation, my objectives are related to improving my teaching, not learning how SEO works. So it was a lot of work to launch a website. Also, many problems arise, and I am not an expert
yeah,
on that. So I had to manage to solve those problems without any help, and I felt like really stressed because they are you have to invest a lot of hours on marketing and so on. So I decided to collaborate with a company of this that is working with language teachers online. And I'm very happy that I don't mind if I get less income. What I want is that my courses are like people have my courses, learn Basque, they are happy with them. I prefer that. And then I'm quite happy because more and more people are getting like enrolled in them. In the past, so that you can see a difference. In the past, the courses I personally launched in my website, maybe I don't know, 20 people enrolled in 1 year. And now I have been with this company for 4 months, and I have 65 students, like
Wow.
in
Yeah, that's
4 months. So the difference is quite a lot, and now I'm very happy. And I don't mind getting less money, if I'm honest, because my objective is to continue with this and to spread my passion for teaching Basque, and I want people learn Basque
yeah.
from
So
all over the world.
when you did all on your own, did you have a website?
Yes, yeah. And as I told you, it was like a very rudimental website, very basic. I didn't like it, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But I
And
didn't know, like I learned how to create that website, but I didn't like, I'm not a
yeah.
graphic designer. I'm not expert in marketing, SEO, and those
Yeah, what
things.
did you use? Was it WordPress or which
Yes.
platform? Okay.
Yes, WordPress.
And the current platform with whom you collaborate, what's it called?
Yes. It's not a platform, it's a company, and it is run by a language teacher that also uh, sells courses, and it's called We Learn. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
we learn. So if you Google WeLearn.com, you can find your Basque course and also other languages.
Yeah, well, my website is learnbaskinenglish.com. That would be my website. But the registrations, as I need like time to prepare the courses and so on, the registrations are not open all the time. I open registrations like from time to time, every 3 months, 4 months,
Yeah,
six
okay.
months, because I need time to focus on the new students so that they are okay with everything. If they have doubts, or like I prefer to do it this way, so that I can give like a better quality of teaching and that, and I can focus on like a few students in case they have questions or they have things to tell me and so on, and I can continue recording videos, continue uploading exercises so that they can continue doing PDFs, um, and this is it. So if any person wants to study Basque or wants to learn Basque from scratch, they only have to follow me on Instagram, because on Instagram is when I tell everyone when the courses will be open, and the courses are open only for like 4 days to enroll, and then I close registrations, and then they will have to wait for more months if they want to enroll.
Yeah. So basically, if someone enrolls, they find the course material where they have like the videos that you have
Mhm.
recorded, and in addition, is it that they get also private lessons, or you don't have any private lessons for them,
Yeah,
or
for the moment, I give them like daily support. If they have questions, they can DM me, they can send me emails. We also have a WhatsApp group. We have a community of Basque learners, and it is like also quite nice how they or how we are creating like a family or a group, and we share things. I always like learn also things from them, because they recommend me things, so they send to the group pictures. So it's like you are not feeling alone while
Mm,
learning, because I also buy courses online because it's quite convenient in our busy lives.
mm,
And it's true that sometimes you're like, okay, but I have this question and nobody can answer me and can answer this question to me. So I want that my students have this daily support. If they need anything, I am there. Currently, I don't have time to teach like private lessons or group lessons because I'm working at the
yeah,
school. But who knows? In the future, maybe if everything, my plan is to continue creating courses for more levels and so on. And in the future, maybe if I can be focused on this 100%, and I have time to develop more things, I may teach like group lessons or from time to time or every week. I don't know because for the
yeah,
moment, this is my life, and this is like it. So,
yeah. So basically, someone enrolls, they learn on their own pace, and
mhm.
then they have the WhatsApp group. They can contact you. There are the other 20 people. They can write stuff in Basque. They can like get to know others, and so you get from 0 to approximately what level? A1, A2?
Yes, A1. As Basque has like many things to take into account, I decided to do like first A1 level to give them like the basic foundations, or to give my students the basic foundations, because at first I thought, okay, I can do like a basic level course involving A1, A2, let's say. But then I thought, no,
Yeah,
not possible because there are a lot of things that need to be like separated. Yes.
yeah. And I forgot my question. I,
That
I
happens to me sometimes.
yeah. Okay, we can continue, and maybe it
Hmm.
comes back to me.
Hmm.
So, are there other things you wanted to tell about your teaching methods, resources, and maybe also if of course you don't want to like promote too much other resources, but maybe the situation how it is for learners currently.
Hmm.
How much apps, how much newspapers, how much books exist currently for Basque learners.
Okay, I think it's easier if you come here because in the bookshops there are like many books in order to learn Basque, and there are like Euskaltegiak, like Basque schools. In the language school, you can also learn Basque. So I think if you are like very interested in learning Basque, coming here would be a good idea. But if you cannot come here, there are on YouTube and online materials. It's true that there are more materials for like Spanish speakers. For example, there was a free podcast on YouTube from Euskara Satorra, that is like the Basque mole, the animal,
Yeah,
the Basque mole. So you can, if you speak Spanish, you can hear that podcast, and it's like very professional, and it's great. But it's true that in English there is like a scarcity of materials because you can find like some videos here, some videos there, some materials here and there, but there's no like a structured course like for people that want to start from scratch and want to like have an order, or are the foundations like totally explained. It's very difficult to find one, and that's why I decided also to create mine.
mm,
So yeah, there are things, not many, because this is not like a big language when it comes to speakers, and that's why there are not as many materials as in English or in Spanish or in another language. But yeah, like if you want to learn Basque, and you are not here, it's also kind of possible. But yeah, it's true that the materials are a bit, you have to look for them. And then on Netflix, as I told you again earlier, um, the Basque government is investing a lot of money on fostering the language and so on. So on Netflix, you are going to see more and more movies that have like or Basque subtitles. That is a really good way also to learn and to immerse yourself in the language. Or the audio that is dubbed in Basque. So this is like very good news because you can continue learning and immersing on the language.
Are there any apps, like vocabulary apps to like Duolingo, Closemaster, Babbel, that kind of?
Mhm. In fact, one of my students created like an app and he recorded my voice so that only my students could have like kind of flashcards to learn pronunciation and vocabulary. Recorded my voice from the courses, and he said, "This app can only be used for like only in this group chat because it's like my voice and
Yeah,
cannot be like." So yeah, and then when it comes to apps, if I'm honest, I'm not really. I have to do a research on apps because I'm not really um, aware
yeah,
of how
okay.
many there are. It's true that there are some, but I'm not really aware.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remembered my question. So in your course,
Mhm.
in the basic course, what if you can a bit tell about what topics are covered and how much, for example, vocabulary or cultural things you talk in the course?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so at a basic level, I wanted to give like a kind of introduction to everything I could, like introduction to pronunciation, introduction to culture, like how to say in grammar, like the basic things like present, past, future tenses. Then when it comes to vocabulary, like daily conversations, vocabulary. So I always try, or my objective is to teach in a fun way, so I try my best to create my materials or my presentations, my videos, like very visual and very like is my job also like a big percentage of my job is to facilitate that the students can learn like better. So that's why I work for several months on the course, um, doing like this kind of visuals. We also translate from movies, from songs, from different resources so that you can see that the language is alive and that the language needs to continue its path, not only doing exercises. um, so yeah, I try to combine a little bit of everything, not only explanations, not only me speaking. I
Yeah,
like, of course, at the very first level, you need to have a lot of input, but I try to make it fun, like that you enjoy while you are learning, that you enjoy the process, not I'm learning and I'm bored and
yeah,
no, I want you to have fun and to be also proud that you are having achievements and learning and so on. So I think that I'm quite happy with the result, but it's true that I have to continue
yeah,
developing it.
yeah. So the formats used are video, and then
Mhm.
there are texts. Are there also exercises?
Yes, exercises, online exercises on the course, on the platform. It's true that now I'm focused on creating more and more because I want to create like for each video or for each explanation some exercises, online exercises, but I need time, so
Yeah,
and then also PDFs for each video, many videos. And also I record like the PDF I share. I record the answers with my explanations so that you can have not only the answer but also explanations. Um, yeah, and we have also the WhatsApp community to ask questions or practice the language because sometimes normally on Fridays, I say, Kaisho, hello, the weather is like this, and I am doing this, and I will do that this weekend. What about you? And they
Yeah.
continue the conversation so that you can also, even if we don't have time for speaking, practice, they can at least write a little bit. They can also, some of them also are gathering to do video calls to continue learning or practicing it. So yeah, it's quite cool. I think it's quite cool.
Yeah, sounds really good. Mm, Now I wanted to, in the end, ask a bit also generally about your own language learning.
Mhm.
So you had all your school in Basque, then did you have Spanish classes as separate like Spanish classes?
Yeah, only Spanish classes, like 3 hours per week. Yeah, 3 hours per week we had Spanish. And you learned syntax, literature, orthography, and so on.
What about English?
Also, 3 hours per week or 4 hours, depending on the level on the course. And we learned vocabulary, grammar, above all,
When did you
reading,
start?
writing.
At what age?
Okay, English, I started in primary. Now it's true that they start in kinder, but in my generation, we started in primary and the level was very low. And as I loved English, I decided to go to like out of school activities since primary, I think. Yeah, or since I was 12 years old. I also learn on my own. So when you like something, when you're passionate about something, and you have it as a hobby, you don't mind spending time learning it. The problem is that if you have many hobbies or that if you have not a lot of time, you cannot you cannot have much time or as much as you would like to. But
Yeah. So in Spain, I guess everything is dubbed in Spanish. Did you have any TV shows in English, or did you just go to YouTube or
yes, on the TV you cannot have, not like in, for example, when I went to Croatia, there were channels that broadcasted like movies in English, like originally in English. Here, no. I mean, nowadays, yes, but when I was younger, no. So yes, from YouTube, I also had like idols. I liked singers, actresses. So if I wanted to know what their feelings were, what they were thinking, what they were saying, I had to learn English. So
yeah.
that was also my biggest motivation to learn the language. So yeah, some of the hours that I spent learning it were like in classes, but many of the hours were also on my own, translating on my
Yeah.
own. Yes.
Did you have any optional languages in your school?
Optional languages. My school is very little. So in my school, they learn Latin as an optional. In the past, they used to learn French as optional too. But nowadays, the languages are Basque and English and Spanish.
Yeah, you didn't pick any Latin or French courses.
When I was at school, yes, and at university, yes, I picked French for one semester, and I picked Latin for 2 years or 3 years. Three, 3 years Latin.
How far did you get in Latin and French?
In Latin, very low.
Yeah,
Because in Latin it was syntax, most
yeah,
of it. So in Latin it was like analyzing sentences. and that's it. And then in French, A1, A1.
Yeah,
And sometimes what it happens to me was like my favorite languages are Basque and English.
yeah,
So I am always, when I have little time, I'm always continue studying Basque and English because it's true that even if Basque is also my native language, there are many things that you can, or in Spanish, you can continue always with new vocab and new ways of teaching and so on. So when I have little time, I try to study on my own Basque and English by reading or watching Netflix or yeah, in a fun way.
yeah. You can test your Latin skills by listening a bit of my get episode with Luke from the US, who spoke Latin to me, and
Uh-huh.
I spoke Italian to him. So,
Oh, I'll check it out.
yeah, but yeah, it was hard for me because yeah, Latin. I studied Latin in high school a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but because of us, I speak the Romance languages.
Uh-huh.
It was an experiment trying to see how well we can have a conversation in Latin.
So you had conversations in Latin? No, you didn't study like only syntax. You could, so you are
No,
able to.
no, we had mostly also syntax and just
Mm-hmm.
going through the grammar and translating.
Okay.
No, that was one semester, but
Uh-huh.
I I listened to my guests' own videos on YouTube like 1 month maybe. I was just listening, and because I can have a conversation in Italian, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. So
Mm-hmm.
combining these and then listening, getting my ears accustomed to hearing Latin, we could have like 1 hour conversation. I didn't understand 100%, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a conversation. I understand what he said. I answered. I asked sometimes. What was that? But yeah, I
Wow.
survived. So,
Wow.
do you have any languages that you want to learn in the future?
The thing that happens is that I feel interesting in all languages and the culture, the customs, and so on. But the thing is that I don't know why. I think that if I learn new things, I am gonna lose in my favorite languages
Yeah,
that are English and Basque. So I feel stressed about that. And that's why I don't, I know I should because I feel that languages are amazing, but I feel that I don't really have time to devote the same amount of hours to study English
mm,
and Basque and another
yeah,
language. So that would be the problem. That I don't have time. I don't really have time because I also have other hobbies like going to the gym or studying psychology. So or learning new ways of teaching so that I can improve like also my my way or my job, let's say. So it's other languages for the moment. Maybe in the future when I retire, maybe I change my mind. But for the moment, new languages are not my priority. I love all languages, and I love when people on Instagram tell me things about their languages, but they are not like my priority nowadays.
yeah. I totally understand. Is there still something you wanted to mention that we didn't talk about?
Not really, just that my Instagram account, in case anyone is interested, is Basque in English. In there, I try to upload videos when I have time from time to time. And if anybody wants to know more information about my courses or about learning Basque in general, uh, just message me and I will try to help you. And yeah, and I think that's all from my side.
Yeah, I will include all the links here down your Instagram and also the courses, so
Thank you
that
very
would be
much.
all available here. So thanks, Irati, for the very interesting conversation.
Hmm. Thank you. It was such a pleasure. I had a really good time. You did great because I didn't feel nervous. I felt really comfortable. So thanks to you.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I've practiced it a bit. And thank you everyone for listening and see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.